and they want to play Star Trek, and they want to be sort of as close to, that original series look as possible. And they come in a lot of different shapes and forms. We have a gentleman whose name is Charles Gordon, who is the spitting image of James Doohan. And he comes dressed as Scotty every opportunity he can get. He is movie version Scotty. So it's pretty interesting. You get people come as the next generation, and it's a little sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it's always a lot of fun.
Now, Ray, have you had people like rent it out and to role play or anything like that for like a day or something, or hours, or?
Well, so we do have fan films that come in and make their own fan films. So, as a matter of fact, we just had someone in, a gentleman by the name of Benny Hall, who's from California, who came in with a crew and filmed an episode where I believe he played Kirk. And he is coming back in March. We have another group called Dreadnought Dominion coming in February. And then in April, I get to play Star Trek myself. So I've done 2 fan films, and I'm about to do a third. So it's really for the sake of having fun.
Well, how long does it take to do a fan film? I mean, they come in, is it a 1-day thing, or is it a 2, 3, 4-day thing? How long does it take for them to produce one?
Well, I did one which nearly killed everyone in a day. It was a gentleman that was making a birthday film. And he came and we filmed almost probably 18 or 20 hours. And I vowed that was never going to happen again.
And was that?
But generally, people will come in for 2 to maybe 4 or 5 days. And it works because it gets it right. You spend a day, meeting each other, because a lot of people come in and meet each other for the first time from different locations. And you do a rehearsal on that first day, and you give yourself 2 or maybe 3 days to film. So, somewhere between maybe 3 and 4 days.
Interesting. Now, does anything in the spaceship there, does it have any sound effects or anything?
So the answer is sometimes.
Okay.
So when you're filming, you really don't want any background noise interfering, and we get a lot of it from planes, trains, and automobiles in the location we're in. So you want it as quiet as a soundstage as possible. But when we open up for these fan weekends and we bring people in, I set up the sets so that we have, background sound effects on the bridge to make it feel like you're on the bridge, and engineering, and transporter room, and sickbay.
Oh, wow. Now, how big is the bridge in your studio? Just out of curiosity.
You know what? That's a great question, because we all just kind of live it. But I believe it's something like 25 by 25 feet.
Wow. Now, I got to ask you a question, Ray. How often do you sit in that chair and fantasize?
The answer to that, Gary, is every chance I can get. You know what? You walk around, and all I can say is it never gets old. I've sometimes said that, if you would have told 12-year-old Ray Tesi that one day he would own the Enterprise, he would have said you were crazy. But I like to go, and whether there's productions going on or not, I sort of like to walk the halls, and I think I might have inherited some of that from Vic, because Vic just likes to come and walk around and look at it, and we all just kind of say, "Hey, this is Star Trek." That's what it is. It's Star Trek.
Well, you know what I got a kick out of Vic, is that he, as a kid, was so infatuated with, Captain Kirk, William Shatner, the whole show. He picked up all the mannerisms of Captain Kirk, So, when he's doing, I watched his, fan-based videos, and all I can say is he does William Shatner better than William Shatner does.
You might be right. He did an episode that was based on the original series episode Mirror Mirror. He did a continuation of it. Mirror Mirror is the one, maybe for you and people listening, where Kirk and some of the crew beam onto an alternate universe. And when it starts out, it's like the end of the last scene in the original episode. And boy, oh boy, you put those two scenes side by side, which I think somebody had done, and it's just, not to be cute about it, but it's a mirror image of each other. And yeah, he got it down. He got the mannerisms, the inflections. He's just got it all down.
Oh yeah, I got to get him back on the show too. He promised to come back on. I got to get a hold of him. I have a guy that's going to be coming on in January. Remember Lost in Space?
Oh, I love Lost in Space.
Yeah, he created. Well, his wife has not been happy, but she let him do it. He created a Jupiter 9 in his house. That if you go into it, I swear to God, you're on the Jupiter 9. You're not in his house anymore. And he sent me a video of it and pictures of it. And I tell you, and he says he spends most of his time. That's his man cave. He goes in there and he fantasizes that, this is his life. Maybe he's a little overboard, but I tell you what, I mean, it shows how much a show like Star Trek or Lost in Space or any of that, can instill in a person into a society.
Well, it's really true. And first you step back and you think, well, look, we're all fans and we all like Star Trek. I think I'm certainly a little bit above that because I lived Star Trek. I was Captain Kirk, or he was my hero. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to meet William Shatner and spend a little time with him at a convention that I went to for his 80th birthday. And he came up and he talked to, there were only a handful of people in the room, and we all got to meet him and talk to him. And he walked up to me, and I said, growing up, I said, you are my hero. And he said something to me that I couldn't answer. And he just looked at me in that William Shatner look and said, really? Why? And I was like, well, I kind of can't talk to you anymore. Sorry, goodbye.
Well, I met William Shatner 3 years ago. Maybe it was 4 years ago. He's, for somebody his age, I don't know how he does it, but he has a philosophy when if he quits acting and he quits being active, he's going to die. So he makes a point of, still riding a motorcycle, still riding horses, making, movies. He just made a movie here. It was released. He's making another one. I ran into him on the way to Las Vegas. He was riding a trike, him and his wife, not a pedal trike, a motorcycle trike. And he was in a cafe, and I went in there, and, people didn't even know who he was because, he was all grubby and all that stuff. And I just said, hey, nice trike. And he goes, what do you have? And we talked about motorcycles. I wanted to so much to ask him for his autograph and talk about Star Trek. But I know that would have been the end of the conversation. That would have been it.
Well, I don't know that it would have been the end of the conversation, but, sometimes, that's what you did is the better part of valor. Because these are, he's out with his family, he's out for whatever. And yeah, it's nice to go and talk to people, and I've done that. But just like you, I don't say, could I have your autograph, or I don't ask for anything like that. Just like to try to talk to them as a person, and at least get the opportunity to have a conversation.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. You know, I've been in broadcasting, Ray, since 1976, doing talk shows, and I took a 10-year break, and I managed a chain of professional camera stores in Tacoma area, Washington. And across the street, because we had the old courthouse that went back from the 1880s down the street from us, and they were filming the short-lived TV show called The Fugitive. Not the original one.
Short-lived?
The short one. They had the original Fugitive, and then they came back out with a sequel, new version of it. And they were filming across the street. So oh God, that's the guy that played Wings on that series. So I got my camera out and I started taking pictures. Well, it annoyed the hell out of the guy. They had the main actor for it, the Fugitive himself. And the next thing I know, the director comes over and he goes, "Hey, you got to stop." Then after the shooting's over, they came over and looked at my pictures. The next thing I know, a week later, they offer me a job to come on board at a hell of a good money, right? And I told my wife, she was all ecstatic. We were about ready to, sell the house and do all this stuff. I get a phone call from the producer and he goes, "Oh, we have to renege on the job offer." I go, "Why?" "We were just canceled."
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. But I was excited for at least a week.
Okay, well, that's good. Get your blood pumping.
Yeah, it did. But getting back to you now, we're going to have to go on break here in a minute. Then I got you for another half an hour. Again, have you had any groups in there not to do any filming, but just want to play Star Trek? A group of people rent it and say, "Hey, we want to do we want to play.
Actually,
we want to play in here. We want to play Star Trek."
So there's a group coming in, oddly enough, on Sunday. And they're coming in to play Star Trek. Had somebody who actually came to an open house. I guess the way he phrased it to me was he couldn't believe what he was looking at. And he has friends. It's their. I spoke to him today. And he said this is like their Christmas present to each other. And they're coming in costume, with still cameras, not to make a movie, but with still cameras. And they want to spend the day playing Star Trek. And I said, "Hey, that's great. If that's what you want to do, I'm glad we're here." So Sunday is a day when we're going to have something like that. We do get people who come in, but we're not generally open to the public unless we have like one of these weekends coming up for a few restrictions. But if we can do it for people, we love to do it for people.
Oh, wow. Now, hey, Ray, we're going to have to go on break, so we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of more questions, and then we're going to also talk how people can get a hold of you and all this stuff. So just, get yourself a cup of Java, a cup of tea, or whatever. We'll be back in 3.5 minutes. We're talking with Ray, and it's going to get a little bit heavy about what he's done. So stay tuned. You're listening to me, Gary, on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark.
At last, this is no accidental meeting.